if you'll indulge me a little bit, I have drawn a little model of what I'm thinking. So there'll be steps going in and then terraced on the back side, so we can maintain more or less a flat wall all the way through.
This is Ferrocement House Build, Part 5, continuation of the lower retaining wall.
I have another drawing I've done, something like that. So you can see the steps go up and then a place to sit, and then there's a little nook for the electric cutoff. You see right there. Then terrace at the end. Not a terrorist. Terraces. A terraced step down to take care of the slope of that hill there. The hill just slowly fades off into nothing. So what we're trying to do is take care of several problems at once. So one problem is that in like, I don't remember, 2007, when last time we had a bulldozer or a excavator out here cutting this out, it found the electric service. And as you can see, the conduit's quite small for the size wire we have in there. It'd probably be impossible to pull it in or out. So in order to save this, I'm thinking this little nook, we can build a main breaker here, then have sub panels, one that goes to the house and one goes to the outbuilding, like that. And then that would also allow us to get rid of this temporary power that we have set up, because this is quite ugly, especially for being on the front of our house. So I've just been widening this by hand with my grubbing hoe and shovel and whatever. We'll see here, there's going to be this terraced, retaining wall. So I need to open that up and back here into a little bowl so I have room for this work that I'm doing.
I really don't like digging that much. And over here, I was hitting this old concrete slick from where we used to wash out the mortar mixer that we had before the current bucket mixer. And I mean, it was like 4 inches thick concrete in places. It looked like a sedimentary rock with all the different layers of all the different projects we'd done. It was a big mess. Plus, it was hot. This was the middle of summer, and this clay soil was just dry as a bone, hard as a rock. Plus, I don't know. It's a mess. I don't like digging. Certainly not by hand. So I kept on like this for a little while, just pounding away at the dirt. I was totally aimless at this point. I hadn't measured how far I needed to go or anything, and eventually I just got to the realization that's like, okay, I need to get a tape measure on the ground and actually figure out how big of a project this is going to be.
I'm going to do a little measuring real quick so I know how big to excavate my hole. So if we're going to have a 3-tiered terraced on the back side garden bed here that helps reinforce that wall, and they are equally spaced. So it just so happens that my wall is 4.5 feet tall. So that gives me 16 inches. No, not 16, 1.5 feet, for each terrace. So the diameter of that bottom bed will be the same as the height. And then what that means over here is I need to know the distance between the edge of the wall, how much space I have. So I'm going to have to measure side to side here. Alright. That's right at about 21 feet. From that wall down to right here, 21 feet. That'll be my minimum mark. But I think what I want to do is have my wall that way somewhere. I think what's important is for the wall not to look like it's falling in or closing off. If anything, it should be wider. It should be parallel or wider to the other wall. What's that mean for how much I need to excavate? Alright, so to make my proportions look good, means I'd probably want to excavate at least that far, so my hole, so my bowl will fit here, and maybe a little bit farther so I have room to work. Now I'm just going to pretend that's a center mark. And gonna do a lot of work. Oh, that's a ton of dirt. What am I doing? Oh my goodness. Kind of stupid to do that much by hand. Well, that's my goal at least. Oh my God. I don't know if I can get that much done before I go get my kid from school today. Ooh, what's that? It's an unbelievable, beautiful day today here at the retaining wall house. My Ferrocement house build. Ooh, but here I am, about to get started on my hole. This is beautiful. It's beautiful today. It's 74 degrees in August.
I don't like making myself look stupid, but seriously, I'm an Eagle Scout, and it must have been the heat because I couldn't even tie this granny knot.
See, what are we doing here?
So I was digging a footer into what's an uneven ground, so I couldn't rely on the depth of the footer to to make sure that my panel would fit in there. So I wound up setting up a string line with a level on it, which isn't the most accurate thing you can do, but at least it gave me some reference point where I could actually measure down and get the proper depth for this trench. It got deeper as we went further away from the existing work over to the T-post. So if you remember, the wall is 4.5 feet tall. So these horse panels that I'm installing are 5 feet tall. So at the edge of the trench near the existing work, I had a 6-inch underground, but by the time I got to the edge, I was closer to 9 to maybe a foot in a couple places, just because of the slope of the ground. But this gave me some real precise control over this, so I didn't have to try too many times to install the horse panel. I always have trouble figuring out how I'm going to transport 20-foot materials. Personally, that's an issue I have because we don't have like a real good trailer. We got this little tiny trailer that's probably 4x8. And the little bitty donut wheels on it. So anyways, look, this is how I've been hauling rebar. I just sort of attach it, hanging out the front and the back, and I put a red rag on the back. Just to let people know it's there, and I roll up the cow panels. And what sucks about rolling a cow panel is it's never going to be flat again without some work. So it takes some effort to get it to go flat again once you roll it. But this system has been working for me okay. As we unroll this, you'll see what I mean. What I wind up having to do is just roll it the other direction a little, step on it, bend it, tweak it, and it never gets perfectly flat, but you can get it close enough to flat that you can sort it out later. But if I was just to install it with these bins in it the way it has now, that would just be an absolute disaster. And I don't think I'd ever get something close to the shape I was actually going for. So I do one more clean out of the trench before I install the cattle panel. And I tried installing it myself, and it was really hard. Broke a lot of wire ties, got all upset. So this time I had my dad come back for the final install. So for this section of the wall, we're trying something different again. You know, the old section I was using T-posts. And the T-posts are really nice, super strong, a lot of metal in them, right? But they're making the wall kind of thick. So for this wall, I went back to using just a half-inch rebar for my vertical beams. Just, you know, as another experiment, we're going to try to go a little thinner with this. And you can see I'm still using a string as a guide to try to keep the wall straight down there at the bottom of it. And that is this really useful for getting something that looks kind of all right. You know, that's what I'm going for. But the top of it can be have some tolerance to it because this whole thing is going to be pretty flexible. And then just like the other wall, I'm putting the fencing on the back side right there, getting that attached, and then eventually I'll put a hardware cloth on the front and back, and then I'll be ready to pour the concrete in the footer. So here I am installing the hardware cloth on the front side, and I'm putting a fair amount of wire ties in the bottom section to get it sucked up because I'm trying to get ready for pouring the concrete the next day. And to be honest, this was a rough day. It was like 97 degrees, plus it was super humid, and I gave myself heat exhaustion. I had a headache for days. But after a day off, I came back the next day and we poured the concrete.
You can see where the old cattle panel meets the new cattle panel. Then rebar coming from the footer out. New piece of rebar that goes the full length of the new cattle panel. The old hardware cloth overlaps and joins the new hardware cloth. Instead of using fence, we were using remesh. See that rusty colored stuff? That's remesh that was behind the old wall. And then also, for the old wall, we were using T-posts, and now we're using this rebar.
So eventually we do get to pouring the footer. And I really like having a footer on these walls because my observations of the cow panel retaining walls that other people have done is occasionally they have these washouts underneath them because they built them on top of grade to hold the earth back. The walls, you know, they don't move or fail in any other way, but they do have that migration of water underneath them. And the footer is, I think, a stopgap for that. Plus, we will also be installing a French drain behind it. For the flower bed at the end of it, I just rolled up another smaller cow panel, got it as round as I could, set it in place, and scratched in the dirt, you know, where I needed to dig for it. Because I'm going to put a footer on this thing too. Because it's going to be kind of a structural, fairly important part of the wall, I think. Because having this big, skinny, flat panel is not ideal. That's not, you know, having a compound curve in ferrocement is the only real way to have strength. So with this wall, the idea is that the planter at the end will give it structural integrity, that the stairs going through it will give it structural integrity, and then having a couple nooks in the middle of the wall with compound curves built into them will also help strengthen this flat wall. So that's how I'm hoping I can sneak by any structural problems with a 1 inch thick or less ferrous cement flat panel holding back however much weight that is.
Well, today's going to be a lot more digging. We need to fix the electric line that we busted a decade ago. And then also, I want to have the French drain behind this wall connect to our drain pipe from the French drain from the main house. So this hole has a couple things going on with it. So first of all, The drain pipe, the 3-inch, is the drain that comes out from underneath the retaining wall and drains way off over yonder way. But the two gray pipes underneath, one of those is the electric that goes out to the yurt. You see that off in the distance. So I'm going to dig a trench from here to there so I can tie in that French drain that we're going to install to here, so it'll drain off to the edge of the property. The other thing we need to fix is this electric. You know, the original plan was I was going to put a junction box or a main breakers in this wall here, and then from here split off electricity to all the various things we're using. But now we're just going to use this location for our junction box, and then we're going to move our main breakers off to where the future utility room is going to be. In order to do that, I think I'm just going to dig this trench again, just so we can pull the plastic off and get to everything. Because I don't think we can pull this wire out to repair this, because we assembled the pipe one piece at a time onto the wire. Alright, we're just checking the scrap pile real quick. We got one piece of 3-inch scrap here. Slim pickings. Alright, here's what the plan is. I have this this T with a little sweep on it. Not much of one. I'm gonna get that installed in here somehow. Pointing right up my trench. And the way I'm gonna do it is I got this repair coupling. And the thing with the repair coupling is it doesn't have the little lip on it. And you can actually slide it on the pipe with minimal difficulty. Here's my pipe. So the repair coupling, you know, it's not super easy, but it's not super hard either. And with this one, let's just pretend. All right, so I have my T installed on the existing pipe. The part that I cut out to make room for this, I'm gonna cut a sliver of that off and put it in here. So I have a little bit sticking out here, a little bit sticking out there, and then hopefully it will be close enough together that I can move my repair tee over the two and bring it back together. Or not my repair tee, my repair coupling, excuse me. What we built this the drains for this French drain system with was this 3-inch foam core drain pipe. So foam core is not pressure rated for water, and And you can, I mean, you can see there's PVC on the inside, PVC on the outside, and foam in the middle. And little triplets of PVC get exposed where, you know. And then this is stuff with red letters on it. See that up here? This is solid core PVC. So this is 100% resin. And this is these two tiny little skins on it. I went ahead and spent the extra, $2.50 for this 10-foot pipe versus getting another 10-foot foam core. Just because I kind of think this might have a higher crush pressure. Like sometimes over here I drive up here and deliver things to the house, So since I'm going to be running over this one with some, frequency, I thought, well, just go ahead and spend the extra $2.50. Maybe it'll last longer. I don't really know though. So I got a few problems going on here. I got it in there a little crooked, so I'm gonna have to wallow out my hole. So wallow out this hole so I can get that thing to scoot over a little bit, be a little straighter, because that's just. Look at that again. This is kind of a tough angle there. What I've decided to do. This is just about 10 inches, okay? So I'm going to cut a 10-inch gap. And I'm going to install this. And then I'm going to measure again how much space I have here in this scrap that I cut out. I'm going to get it as big as I can to fit in here. Slide it in, not all the way down, but almost. So if there's 1.5 inches here, I'm going to go 1.25 inches just to help close that gap 1/4 inch. Right? And before that, of course, this will be installed on the pipe. So I'm going to install the piece, slide it over, make a connection. Let's see if we can make that happen. Alright, a couple things to take note of here. First of all, first of all, we're going to put this repair sleeve on, or repair coupling on, before we forget, because that would be an absolute tragedy. Can you see how clean this is? This fridge drain was installed 10 years ago, and it's just got a little bit of dirt, a little residue on it. No mud has clogged it up or anything. So, I mean, it's like brand new, and that makes me feel great. Absolutely great. Gonna go ahead and prime this. Let's see if I can get it good. Yeah, pretty good. I'm gonna smooth this one real good. I'll do a quick smooth around that one. Slide it on all the way. Oh. Okay, that's on there. I'm just gonna hold it for another 30 seconds, 45 seconds, just so it won't try to back off. We got just under 4 inches on one side, and right at 4 inches on the other. So I'm gonna try cutting a 4-inch piece. I'm gonna try dry assembling it real quick, see if I can slide it in or not. Alright, so this little bugger here, look at that. Fits in pretty tight. Cram it in there. Yeah, we'll be able to do this. Kill here. Alright, we're just gonna do this thing. So it's easy enough to move. Just yeah, that'll do. So I'm really just going to have a little over 3/4 of an inch on either side. I'll go ahead and mark right there. That's my stopping point. Don't want to go farther than that. Hope I didn't ruin my little Sharpie. Okay, this is going to be kind of a mess. Got more quick. Okay. So, got this all the way around. Uh-oh. Got this all the way around. Rip it up there again. Make sure I got the bottoms. Alright. Oh, fuck. Oh. Alright, like that. Holy cow. Is that all it takes? Got a ton, so that squeezes a ton of glue out on this side and didn't leave much over there. But if that's how it works, that's how it works. Alright, I'm just driving down to the creek. I'm gonna grab a few buckets of sand and backfill this little trench we got. Yeah, I don't know. You know, I want to prevent the clay from crushing it or ripping it apart best I can. I want to prevent. I don't know. I don't have a clue what I'm doing. But we got sand, so we're gonna do it. I got my 6 buckets full. So let's go. Hole. Let's go look at the creek real quick. So certain places in the creek are very beautiful. This place not so much. We call this sand park because it's all sand. There's other places that are gravel and a few like really nice looking beaches. But this is all just a mess down here. So I ran water through the clean out and made sure this wasn't leaking. You know, even if it did leak, I doubt it would be a problem because it would just be a little drip. Because where you get a problem with a broken pipe in the ground is if there's actually room for the dirt to get eroded and go down the pipe, creating a void and a cavity that then could, you know, collapse your yard into it or something. But yeah, this doesn't leak. This is good.
I just want to make note of a few things. First of all, I was able to find that French drain using photographs of where it was with one hole, which made me feel pretty awesome. And then secondly, I also, closer to the wall, teed off another little stub section because I'm thinking in the future we might do an outdoor kitchen. It'd be nice to have a place to drain a sink or something. And if our little landing there, has a flooding issue, that'll also give us the opportunity to put in a drain box of some sort. But I backfilled the pipe with the sand from the creek, and I went about halfway up, and then I finished off with the native soil, the red dirt that we have in this part, and finished it up. But anyways, I'm gonna end the video here because this is another one of those 30-minute behemoth videos, and yeah, it's just getting kind of long. So the next video will be kind of similar. It'll be tackling the electric, and that's going to be another, I don't know, not really Ferrocement related, but part of the house building experience. And you'll see me upgrading some of the former electric lines, which were intended for 12 volt. So we had the house wired with 8 gauge, trying to help with voltage loss on a 12 volt DC system. And the original conception of the house was using a lot of RV fixtures and 12 volt light bulbs and 12 volt fans and on and on and on. So we're going to be bringing it into the modern century with the 110 or 120 volt, whatever it is we have here in America. All right, well, thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate everyone who watches these videos, and stay tuned for the next one.